Hi, everyone. Today we are going to be covering the end of Camelot and LBJ's Great Society. Your warm up questions are: what is the responsibility of the government to the people? This one is an opinion question. What do you think the government's role should be in society? And the second question is: what is the meaning of promote the general welfare? If you don't know that, you can Google it and use your analysis skills to figure it out. Try to make a guess on your own first before discussing with anyone. Let's go over those. Well, the first one is opinion. Promote the general welfare generally is known to mean using the government's resources to help everyone meet some kind of minimum basic needs. Make sure everyone has the food and necessary items to survive in society. That was the warm up for today. Now we're going to do the slides on LBJ's Great Society. We have some primary source work, and then we'll look at the exit ticket, which has to do with these essential questions. Was LBJ's Great Society an extension of FDR's New Deal? And was LBJ's Great Society successful? The assassination of JFK took place on November 22nd, 1963. JFK and LBJ in Dallas, Texas, were campaigning for re-election. JFK was shot in the head while he rode in the back of the open-air limo. Why would anyone want to kill JFK? What might be some motivations here? They don't like his policies. They don't like that he has been doing some work to promote civil rights. Those might be some possible reasons. Marxist supporter Lee Harvey Oswald is accused of being the lone assassin. Here is a picture of that time. This is JFK after the first shot and Jackie Kennedy checking on JFK after that shot. This is the governor of Texas who also is suffering a gunshot wound. Here is his assassination video. As we play it, I want you to think about why is it significant that this moment was captured on film? Why is that important or different? I know that this works because I played it before. It looks like it's still loading. Well, let's talk about that question first anyways. We've never seen, there have been previous presidents that have been assassinated, but this is the first one to be captured on film. So the public is really living through that moment along with the president and those close to him. All right, if we wait another 5 seconds, it's not working. We will skip it because that photo that we saw really captured a lot of this video as well. It's a really short clip. All right, unfortunately, we will skip it for now for time. Here is the route that the assassination took. Why do you think that this assassin might have chosen to assassinate JFK on a busy street? Maybe they wanted the speculation, the spectacle. Maybe they wanted to be seen doing this. Maybe they wanted fame. Maybe they wanted everyone to know that JFK was so hated that someone was willing to assassinate him. This is Oswald's mugshot. He was known to have been a gun owner, and he was the one who assassinated JFK. What other groups of people besides Oswald himself might have hated JFK enough to want to kill him? Maybe white supremacists perhaps would be a good answer to that question. There are several possible explanations that you could cite. Here is a video of Oswald speaking to the press. As we play it, I want you to think about why Oswald might agree to speak to the press. What might be his motivation here to not try to hide, but to be straightforward about what he did and why?
In the wake of the Kennedy assassination, the Dallas police, on the one hand, they were committing all of their resources to trying to solve the crime the other hand, they were ill-equipped to handle this tsunami of reporters.
Well, I was questioned by a judge. However, I protested at that time that I was not allowed legal.
In bringing Oswald out, they were, of course, doing something that you would never see happen today. But they were trying to cooperate with the press with the understanding that there would not be questions shouted at him.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet. The first thing I heard about it was when the newspaper reporters in the hall asked me that question.
You have been.
Nobody said what?
Sir?
You have.
Nobody said what? Okay, man. Okay.
What did you do in Russia?
It could be possible that Oswald really wanted to let everyone know again how much he disliked JFK and why there are people who dislike JFK as much as he did. Oswald was actually murdered by Jack Ruby within 48 hours of JFK's death. Why would someone want to kill Oswald? Kind of the opposite reason somebody supported JFK so much. They were so angry that JFK had been killed that someone was willing to step in and kill the person who killed JFK. This happened when Oswald was being transferred and was in police custody at the time of his death. Conspiracy theories were emerging as Oswald came out of the murder event. Sorry, looks like that video was glitching out a little bit too. I don't know what's happening to my videos right now. I'll just delete this one, unfortunately. We will just not talk about conspiracy theories here. Let's see what else might be a good thing to discuss. I'm just deciding not to discuss the conspiracy theories in more details without the video because it's kind of a complicated concept that I feel I would need some more slides to explain here. Let's talk about which other presidents have been assassinated throughout history. What were the motivations for killing those people? As an example for this video, let's talk about Lincoln, of course, was assassinated near the end of the Civil War. This was also likely racially motivated, as in somebody was angry that Lincoln was speaking for freedom in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments for previously enslaved people. It was thought that Oswald was murdered to protect others involved in the assassination of JFK. The Warren Commission set up to investigate the assassination, and they concluded Oswald was the lone killer, but conspiracy theories persist to this day. Only limited files have been released pertaining to the assassination of JFK. What might the explanation be as to why they're keeping some files private? Perhaps there are some people who idealize Oswald and what he did, and they don't want anyone to get ideas or inspiration to commit other crimes. JFK was laid to rest. You can see some of these pictures here displaying the event, and the nation mourned along with the first family because the event was so highly televised on the radio, in the newspapers, and people were really engaged with the event. Who will become president after JFK? LBJ. Lyndon B. Johnson's swearing-in ceremony took place on board Air Force One. It was just moments after JFK's assassination. At the time of this image, JFK's body was already loaded in the cargo hold of the plane, and Jackie Kennedy is still in her pink suit covered in blood as she serves as a witness to LBJ's oath of office. Why would she continue to wear this? She literally hasn't had time to change. LBJ began campaigning for re-election soon after taking office, and he has a focus, as you can see in these campaign ads, on the female voter. Why? Female voters are starting to get more engaged in policy, and if he can engage female voters to support him, that's now, of course, 50% of the voting population. So he wants to make sure that he does a good job reaching out to different minority groups within his campaign. Part of his campaign, of course, is to create this great society. What do you think of when you hear this term great society? This is an opinion question. Pause to think about it, and let's find out. So we're going to compare this idea of FDR's New Deal with LBJ's Great Society. FDR's legislative agenda was designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform for a nation crippled by the Great Depression. And LBJ's legislative agenda was designed to create a higher standard of living and an equal opportunity that promoted a richer quality of life for every American. Let's take a look at this video telling us a little bit more if it will play. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with my videos right now about the Great Society.
The Great Society was revolutionary. When you look back and think of what America was like before these programs were adopted, life was very different. There was an outbreak of hope across this country.
It was quixotic. It was kind of Arturian, this idea of might for right.
These things are all resonating to this day.
I really don't know where I'd be without Job Corps.
Thank God for Medicare.
I can feel worthy. I can be great.
I think many of the Great Society programs were so successful and had an impact on so many of our lives in an overwhelmingly positive way. We have to question, why did we move away from that?
Great Society was a cluster of projects undertaken by the president.
He saw racial discrimination and he saw poverty as moral issues, not just as political issues.
In 1964, Johnson and the civil rights groups managed to pass the first major civil rights legislation. And it was the first comprehensive civil rights legislation in the United States since 1875.
The Civil Rights Act said public accommodations have to be available to everybody, no discrimination on the basis of race. So with one fell swoop, the Great Society wiped out all the whites-only signs.
This administration today declares unconditional war on poverty in America.
The war on poverty was part of this idea that you have not a handout, but a hand up.
In the 60s, it was hard scrabble for a lot of folks. And what we saw with the war on poverty was, for a lot of people, it just meant jobs.
What it's saying is, we're going to bring the less affluent into the mainstream of the society.
When Lyndon Johnson became president, the poverty rate was about 22%. When he left office 5 years later, the poverty rate was 13%. That decline is the greatest one-time reduction in poverty in the history of this country.
Maybe the greatest impact that the Great Society had has been the Medicare program. Up until Medicare was passed, people who reached the age of 65 did not have guaranteed health insurance of any kind. And of course, Medicare now has tens of millions of people in it, and it seems like a humane and generous act of the society.
Most presidents are just happy to have one or two bits of legislation that endure, that have a historical resonance to it. Johnson slammed out bill after bill, act after act.
In education alone, he proposed legislation to provide scholarships, grants, and work-study programs for college students. Today, that legislation provides the resources for 60% of the people that are in college in the United States of America.
I got the maximum amount any person could get to go to college. I certainly would not have been able to attend school without this type of help.
America is always best when it is operating close to its founding ideals. Among those founding ideals is that it's our country and we should care about it and we should take care of it.
College work study.
The Kennedy Cultural Center.
Age Discrimination Act.
The question that people have is, how do we get back to such a progressive agenda? They can look to the past to see examples.
Aid to Appalachia.
Urban mass transit.
Scenic rivers and trails.
We have stellar moments in the history of our country. We can experience that same euphoria by seeking things that we haven't done, that are there for us, and we're going to do that. The best of American life cries for it.
I hope it may be said 100 years from now that by working together, we help to make our country more just for all of its people. I believe at least it will be said that we tried.
Right, so essentially we learned that the Great Society is additional reform programs that could have some connections to the New Deal, which were created around 30 years earlier. The Great Society is about a war on poverty. The Great Society was LBJ's platform, and the goal was to lift Americans out of poverty. In 1964, 19% of the US population lived in poverty. About 23% of people ages 18 and under, and 28% of people ages 65 and older were living in poverty. Appalachia was considered the poorest region of the country, and in 1964, the poverty line for a family of four was $3,128 a year. What do you think the current numbers look like? I need to look it up. Let's see. What is the poverty line today? Surprised it's not coming up easily. $21,000 and $21,960 is the poverty line for a family of three. Upon a quick Google search, sounds like there's been a lot of inflation. Interesting. That was for a family of four in 1964. Wow. So here is LBJ on the right saying, "Will you join in the battle to give every citizen an escape from the crushing weight of poverty? We have the opportunity to move not only toward rich society and powerful society, but upward to the great society." In 2020, 11.4% of Americans were currently in poverty, and 16.1% of children 18 or over currently lived in poverty. 9% of Americans ages 65 and older were currently living in poverty, and the poverty line for a family of four was $26,246 a year. LBJ argued that all people should contribute to society. Why might he think that it's important for all people to contribute to society? He doesn't want to be seen as someone who would be labeled a communist. He wants to be seen as someone who is looking out for everybody, but does expect some kinds of contributions from everyone in return. LBJ creates the Economic Opportunity Act in 1964. This was the cornerstone of his Great Society. It's similar to FDR's New Deal in that it coordinated and facilitated federal programs designed to lift people out of poverty. As we read about this policy, think about what new economic conditions led LBJ to create this act. Here we see a photo of President Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Economic Opportunity Act on August 20th, 1964. The document laid the foundation for Western Dairyland Economic Opportunity Council, Inc., which was started in 1966. Here's the Declaration of Purpose. Although the economic well-being and prosperity of the United States have progressed to a level surpassing any achieved in world history, poverty continues to be the lot of a sustainable number of our people. The United States can achieve its full economic and social potential as a nation only if every individual has the opportunity to contribute to the full extent of his capabilities and to participate in the workings of our society. It is, therefore, the policy of the United States to eliminate the paradox of poverty in the midst of plenty in this nation by opening to everyone the opportunity for education and training, the opportunity to work, and the opportunity to live in decency and dignity. It is the purpose of this act to strengthen, supplement, and coordinate efforts in furtherance of that policy. So the new economic conditions that this act hopes to create is more equality for people of all backgrounds, different ethnicities, different socioeconomic statuses, etc. Here are some of the Great Society programs. We've got Medicare in 1965, established a comprehensive health insurance program for all elderly people, financed through the Social Security system. Medicaid was funded by federal and state governments and provided health and medical assistance to low-income families. The Child Nutrition Act established a school breakfast program and expanded the school lunch program and milk program to improve children's poor nutrition. The Elementary and Secondary Education Act targeted aid to students and funded related activities such as adult education and education counseling. Higher Education Act supported college tuition scholarships, student loans, and work-study programs for low and middle-income students. Project Head Start funded a preschool program for the disadvantaged. The Office of Economic Opportunity oversaw many programs to improve life in inner cities, including the job corporations and education and training program for at-risk youth. Housing and Urban Development established new housing subsidy programs and made federal loans and public housing grants easier to obtain. Demonstration Cities and Metropolitan Development Act helped revitalize urban areas through a variety of social and economic programs. The Water Quality Act and Clean Air Acts supported the standards and goals for water and air quality. The Highway Safety Act supported highway safety by improving federal, state, and local coordination and by creating standards for emergency medical technicians. The Fair Packaging and Labeling Act required all consumer products to have true and informative labels. Overall, the Great Society helped the number of poor people to decrease, but the deficit increased. What is a deficit? That's the debt of the country. This created a Republican backlash and led to more conservative leaders and ideas. LBJ would do a lot for civil rights, but some said it wasn't enough. And his policies, unfortunately, were not as effective due to the Vietnam War. Right, today we are going to look at this activity where you are going to research the programs that LBJ created in his presidency and their functions and complete a graphic organizer to demonstrate your understanding. You can choose a buddy for this. This is going to be a comparison. So we'll do this first, researching the programs. And then you'll choose your buddy for this part 2. Pick one of the 2 primary sources to read and complete that section of your graphic organizer. Explain your source to your buddy and complete the other half, and then vice versa. And then decide together which author is more convincing on that worksheet. After we do those 2 things, you're going to do your exit ticket on Canvas. Using prior knowledge and information gained from this lesson, answer the following 3 questions using at least 3 pieces of evidence to support your answers. I'm just going to say evidence. Provide evidence. It's hard to measure your piece of evidence. You know, some people measure that in different ways. So you're going to either defend or refute the following statement. The Great Society was successful in lifting Americans out of policy and energizing the economy. And was LBJ's Great Society an extension of FDR's New Deal? Both of these are opinion questions. Thank you all so much. Hope you all enjoyed. Thanks.